Hello. Um, my name is Mackenzie Graham. I'm primarily a painter and would like to be an art professor. I just finished a 3-year BFA program at the Lime Academy College of Fine Arts in New Haven, Connecticut. So originally I made only photorealistic non-figurative drawings, and I didn't like painting or using the figure, but my undergrad had a really strong focus on representational figure painting, and so I'd say that's influenced my work pretty heavily in those past few years. I'm now more figure-based, and I primarily paint, but I do use drawings sometimes as a tool for my paintings. So this is The Innocent Die for the Sins of the Guilty. It's a 4.5 by 3 foot painting. The frame is a painted illusion, and the blood on the wall is acrylic paint. It's from 2019, but I think it's still a relatable painting in these times as well. I often combine historical, biblical allusions with contemporary themes. So this is a good example of that with the Pietà pose. In general, I mostly only paint women. So I depict their humanity through subtle moments of calm in an otherwise chaotic world. And despite the suggestions of a world in disarray beyond the edges of the canvas, these figures maintain a really calm resolution. So they're painted with a stoicism, depth, and importance that was previously denied to women using the techniques used to do so. So the next slide, this is Melancholia in Red, also called Before You Go. It's an oil portrait of a roommate right before she left our school, and it was the last night that we saw each other. So my scenes are often very intimate, and they have 1 to 2 female subjects in modern environments that kind of dissipate into thin, dark glazes. And this was mostly a technical painting that I was focused on the luminosity of skin, but it shows that I enjoy painting women boldly and under harsh, kind of indelicate light, and with unwavering, really bold colors. She's just unbothered and uninterested in the viewer, and she's not performing anything. So slide 3 is Masked by Morning Light. This is another example of a more intimate scene with a lone female subject in an environment that loses detail the further away from the subject you get. We're going back chronologically, but this was a turning point for me, just because it's where I went from technical studies and trying to learn how to paint to figuring out kind of what I like to paint. So this was a pretty important piece in that respect. I found a profound interest in light and really highly detailed areas. So the next painting is Memento Mori under stained glass. It's 20 by 16 inches. It's an oil painting. And regardless of whether it's a portrait or a still life that I'm making, I really like to use transient symbolic lighting. So I made a scene of the Temptation and Eve on stained glass, kind of a fake stained glass prop to use for this painting. And then I shone light through it. And you can see Eve cast onto the skull. So the green spot is her fig leaf, and then the red is her apple, and the yellow near the back end of the skull is her hair. I'm really drawn to religious symbolism, and I was also thinking about how women and death are often portrayed together. So the next piece is called Outward Bound. It's 20 by 20 inches from 2019. And I also use visual leads like really strong contrast and saturation to kind of force the viewer to face these women, not as passive objects of decoration, but as human beings. and ominous surroundings often threaten the women. So sometimes the threat is obvious, like in the innocent die for the sins of the guilty, but oftentimes it's about creating a subtle mood that people can interpret differently. So this is burning art on the next slide. This was done after the fire at Notre Dame. It's painted to look like it's burnt through to the stretcher bars, but it's actually a panel, and this is just kind of to draw attention to the illusion that painting is. So symbolic harsh lighting, again, with really unshy colors, and regardless of the subject, these women are self-portraits. So in this example, it's clearly me, but they all embody my reactions to current situations or past memories. And then the last image, so this is just a backlit self-portrait. This piece is a little older, it's from 2018, but there's a light behind my hair, and I think it really captures my style really well and what I favor technically. So I've made a lot of self-portraits before and after this, and none of them have surpassed this kind of late night, last minute painting made in a fervor before the next day's critique. But that's all the work that I have. Thank you.